as always, and we've got a really disappointing result and a disappointing performance to talk about. Or was it as bad as everybody made out? Well, we're going to get to the bottom of it. We'll talk about it tonight. Joe, you were first on, so I'm going to start with you. What were your thoughts on the game last night?
Well, I don't think it was as bad as everyone makes out. To be honest with you, if you analyse it, there was Cadden's mistake which cost the early goal.
Hmm.
He gets subbed early, and as a result of that, Mulligan gets moved from what I think is his best position. He helps the team tick in midfield to right wing back. So that's good things as well. Then Barlaser gets substituted midway through the second half, having got man of the match the previous game, and suddenly he's getting subbed. And I think it was because the team got shifted around to accommodate Chris Cadden, trying to prevent him getting set off and off. I mean, he was lost for speed. I mean, not one, not two, but three of the Rangers players gave him 3 yards and were past him. I mean, I
Hmm.
don't know. I didn't expect him to be lightning fast, but I mean, he seemed to be incredibly slow. But no, I wouldn't change a lot with the team, to be honest with you. I would really be tempted to bring Megwa in at right wing back so that Mulligan can stay in central midfield. We'll lose a lot when he goes out to the right. There's no question. So that's my view. Okay, we got beat. Had we not missed the penalty at the end, there wouldn't be all the moans and groans that you've been having, no doubt, on the internet. If it ended up 1-1, we'd probably gone away slightly disappointed, but that would have been it. So
Hmm.
the missed penalty cost us a lot emotionally and so on. I would stick with most of that team, though, to be honest with you, but I'd make sure Mulligan was in the middle.
Okay.
That's my view.
J Star on YouTube, Evelyn J Star said Halloween came early with Chris Cadd, an absolute horror show for him again, nearly every week now with Chris. And Ronnie said hi bangers. So it was a bit of a nightmare for Chris Cadd and Joe, wasn't it? Like
Well,
he
I
didn't,
mean,
didn't have the best evenings.
he not only cost us the goal against Rangers, he cost us the goal against Hearts as well. If you
Yeah.
catch your mind back a few weeks. So I mean, there's two narrow defeats we've had. You could lay squarely at his door. But what's frightened me most when I'm in the West Stand, the side that he was playing on, it was the way he was left for dead with yards to spare from a few of the players. He just didn't seem to have the speed, and he kept getting caught out of position. I mean, the guys around me were all screaming at him because the guy in the Rangers left wing had acres of space to start his run for a start because Catton was caught out of position all
Mhm.
the time. So I think he needs rested for a good few weeks. And as I say, what do you do? We need to keep Mulligan and his creativity in midfield. So I would give the Megwa boy a chance at right wing back.
Give me a go. Thanks, Joe. Ian, what was your take on the game last night?
Last night was rubbish. The thing that concerns me most is that the crowds will now drop. And it's not just because we lost last night, but because we were toothless and there was basically no fight and no obvious team spirit. And that's the first time for a while I've actually heard boos from Hibs supporters at the end of the game. I don't think it was just for the ref. I mean, it was really miserable last night. I mean, we had distorted PA system, Block 7 singing songs that we can't join in with. Rangers obviously up to their knees in Fenian blood after their striker genuflected after he scored, and then singing about the IRA having gone away. Nay macaroni pies last night, and there was cold water in the toilets after we had the luxury of hot water up at Aberdeen. So, but basically, we've dropped points against Celtic at Parkhead, where we were inept at finishing last night against Rangers. We had really, it's the same as it's been for months in the league. Although Rangers had four on target, they really only had that one chance that they scored from, and
Hmm.
Salinger had only one low to his right to save. But they had a striker last night, and we didn't. And I look back, and at the League Cup game at Ibrox, we had one shot on target. Against Celtic at Parkhead, we had one shot on target. And when they were there for the taking, as you said last night, and last night we had three shots on target, including the penalty. Then one straight at the keeper for Nicky Cadden, and another straight at him from McGrath. And so we had 7 shots on target at Aberdeen, but our finishing was still hopeless. I don't know who is coaching the strikers. I remember Kenny Miller was available 2 years ago, and before that. But tactically, obviously the coach had just watched the Hibs videos. It was the same as before. There was no surprises to Rangers at all, and the selection was wrong. I felt Chaiwa should have been in from the start. Boyle and Abita should have been in. Um, Interesting that their coach was actually giving them direct instructions, almost like a very inexperienced coach. And that number three, Aaron's, and he had a free rein at the beginning, and as did that guy Barnes, number eight. He had a free rein. He was obviously just allowed to run about in midfield. He was basically running the game until we beefed up the midfield. But I felt like it was 50-50 possession, which was unusual, and it was. And Rangers basically played our game. They were quite happy for us to have the ball, as they knew how few chances we'd create. It was funny watching that huge number 24 against Clegy. It was just hilarious. And Balassa hardly touched the ball. Bowie just not dangerous at all, and just miserable. Josh Campbell came on with 3 minutes to go. Yeah, that's a great idea. And he looked more dangerous than Bowie had all night, just as he did at Aberdeen. Rocky was good. Rocky was good, but we missed O'Hora going forward. Iredale did go forward, underlapping. I think it was 4 times, and he was never used by Nicky Cadden.
Yeah.
Nicky put in really poor quality crosses all night. It was just a really miserable night with the Rangers supporters singing our songs to us at the end. They were mediocre at best, but we definitely deserved to lose.
And just on the subject of our songs, Ian, there's your T-shirt there. You showed us just before we started recording. Can we get an eye full of it?
Yeah, I mean it's Hibs away.
Tremendous. These T-shirts are available in our Redbubble store. A one banger special.
Can I correct Ian in one thing? I had a macaroni pie at half time, Ian, in the West Stand.
Okay, but the West Stand is obviously the elite stand. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, I hear Colin going moaning about the stuff in the West Stand that we can only dream about in the East.
Well, still no hot water though. Thanks. I'll come back to you when we get to the talking points. Just going to catch up on YouTube here because we've got a few comments came on while we've been on. Alan said last 26 games versus Rangers at home 1-0. How bad is that? Mr. Rab said evening bangers, brutal night, some tidy football at times from us, but definitely one to forget and put behind us. Jack C99 said hello. Jack, I've watched your vlog earlier on. Guys, if you haven't watched Jack C99 vlog for last night, you would go and check out on YouTube. Ronnie said for Joe, why not give Zach Mitchell some minutes? And Kieran said atmosphere was dead last night. We didn't get going at all. Gray couldn't and can't get them motivated at all for the big games. Chris, on that point, I'll come to you. Gray's big game record has been all right, hasn't it? Like, so, what do you think?
It's funny. I was thinking about this yesterday on the way to work, and I feel that he's got a good derby record, like managing derby record. But I think he really needs a statement home win against one of them. And I think people are just looking for that now. And now I think people are getting kind of caught up in this. We've played Rangers twice now, and let's not kid on, they're rotten.
Yeah.
And people are just looking at going, Gray's just too passive. And it's really becoming a thing now. So he really needs to get a statement win soon. We've got Celtic in a few weeks, 3 weeks, I think it is. 3-4 weeks now. He has to, I think he probably has to get a win there to kind of push that back a little bit.
Is it fair though? I mean, he's beat Celtic at Easter Road. He's had a 3-3 and a 2-2 with Rangers. Beat Hearts at Easter Road. Beat Aberdeen. Beat Dundee United. He's beat pretty much everyone apart from St Mirren. I think he's pretty much beat everybody. Easter Road, is it? I don't know. Is it that important that we beat Celtic? Obviously, you want to beat them anyway, right? I mean, I'm not saying it's like acceptable to lose. Is that the right phrase that I'm looking for? But you know what I mean. Like we can lose to Celtic, but is it the end of the world if we didn't beat them?
I think for some it is.
Yeah,
it is for some, and some will just. You know what it's like. You get the people, and you can see it in some of the talking points that just go proper in with 2 feet and just go mental, and you're like, it then becomes a stick to beat them with.
Yeah.
Whether it's accurate or not, this narrative just gets trotted out. And he has got a lot of big wins. And other than, I feel like, obviously, the cup games against Celtic last year and the League Cup game against Rangers earlier, where we just didn't look like we wanted to go at them. That's probably where it's coming for a bit. Because we went to Celtic Park last year thousands of fans, and
Yeah.
we really didn't look like we were in the game. It looked like Celtic were cruising in second gear, and if they wanted to really step it up, they'd stepped it up. But they knew that we were so, I'd say, so afraid to go and attack them at points that as soon as they scored, that was it. They knew the game was pretty much done. And I think, again, the League Cup game against Rangers, probably the same. And last night, Rangers got that early goal and they just funneled back into shape and went, break us down.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just clueless to say, well, we can do it.
Is this the manager then that's not instilling that belief in the players, or is he setting them up to be defensive and stand off them, or is it the players themselves lacking a bit of belief?
I think it's a bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a bit of both where he wants us obviously to keep our shape. And the shape against these teams who have obviously got more money, better players, in theory, is imperative. But I think sometimes the players are scared to go and express themselves as well. And I think that you've seen that with some of them last night. I think they were afraid to really go and express themselves in the game and impose themselves on their opposite number.
Yeah, I think you noticed it when Chaiwa came in. Chaiwa in the middle was the first person to really sort of start trying to take on players, take a couple of touches and go by people.
And that's kind of why on the Mulligan situation, I'm not overly fussed. If you get that level of performance with Chaiwa, that we can move Mulligan out to that right wing back position.
Aye, that makes sense. John, what was your take on the game?
I think my disappointment. I mean, we missed a penalty with 3 minutes to go in the game. Then you sort of, it's your own point. You didn't fault. You didn't pick up a point. I think McGrath. I mean, I don't think I could have picked up the ball and actually held it long enough in front of 17,000 at Easter Road to actually get it on the penalty spot and the referee be saying. I mean, so the bottle to actually stand up there and take it has to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
But his penalty wasn't good, and that changes the narrative. I mean, as Joe said at the beginning, but I think the last two games tell you how important the first goal is. On Sunday, Aberdeen miss a sitter, don't even put it on target. We then get a goal in the first half. Aberdeen are then chasing us, and we should bury them on the break. Rangers, £6 million signing from Feyenoord finally does something in a Rangers strip and finds bottom corner, for 20 yards. Now, they then sit back. In the first half, their back line was pretty much on the edge of the centre circle. In the second half, they had 5 along the D. Why were we brought players off because we're playing 3 games in a week? I mean, there's lots of things that are going on in there. The wee flick that it takes off of a Rangers thigh means that Cleage's one right after half time hits him in the midriff rather than coming off his thigh. I mean, there's wee bits that didn't go for us.
Yeah.
But that was a really tight game. We were as solid as we could be. Both teams negated each other. First 15 minutes, they were dropping into the spaces either side of Barlassa. There's no way that Cadden's kick out should be blocked by the Rangers player. But there's then 4 other Hibs players involved with 2 different Rangers players before the shot goes away. So it's that idea where you can try and find a scapegoat in there if you want. I mean, you can try and scapegoat him for the job at Tynecastle in terms of what Joe's saying. But no, he's a player that got an early yellow, and we improved when Chaiwa came on. I mean, so I think that I'm down, I'm pissed off. I don't like the songs coming for the other end. Particularly don't like the "To Go and Die" songs when the Hibs players down getting treatment. To me, there's a bit of me can sort of think that they're stupid enough, I mean, to be touring Dundee and Hamilton or all their other songs. But yeah, that when players down injured, that's just that should just not be on, and just puts a cherry on top. But no, I think that we've got to look at the Aberdeen game and say we got the first goal in that game and then went on to control it and should have buried it. We've played much worse against the Old Firm at Easter Road in the past 8 years. We buried Jack Ross for having nothing against the Old Firm and Hearts. And then were gutted for what we then had to go through for the next 3 or 4 years. So I think that there's a point where you don't get too high, you don't get too. Some fans' reactions feels a bit binary at the moment. Things are either absolutely brilliant or they're absolutely dog shit. I mean, and there's no option in the middle. You either get a 9 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10. I mean, and that's the problem.
Do you think there's a tendency these days, John, right? Just as an observation in society, like you have to show everybody how angry you are. You know, when something goes against you, it's like you can't just be like mildly pissed off. It has to be like full off the scale, like fucking everything's terrible, and everybody needs to care how bad everything is, and that you're really, really hurting more than anybody else.
But I think it's also it's the fact you've got the opportunity to share that feeling with so many people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
brilliant, isn't it?
I can remember back in the day being really, really pissed off after a match or a scoreline or stuff like this. But the simple thing was, I didn't get to go and put it on a notice board. I mean, the 100,000 people could look at. I mean, and that's the problem. It's not the idea that things have changed. It's just that immediacy. And what you're put down at 10 past 10 last night. I mean, or what would be your immediate reaction to sort of putting something on a message board or tweeting out or going onto Blue Sky?
Yeah.
I mean, when the penalty save said, I always hit some to that side, that's fucking stupid. He missed one again for Aberdeen against Butland last year. Why was he taking it? Boyle was on the pitch, Hoylett was there, Ellie was on the pitch, he could have taken it. Bloody hell, Campbell scored a penalty the other year. I mean, you have all that you can throw out, but he's hit a bad penalty.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it's the immediacy with which you can share the opinion that's a problem, rather than the opinion.
I'm not agreeing it's a problem. I think it's great fun. MKPGT.
Well, normally it's just moans that you would have heard standing waiting for the pink in
that's the queue for the bus. Totally. MKPGT said it was a gutless performance. Bowie has done very little for weeks now. They looked shit scared of Boyle when he came on. They hunted him in packs. All this passing across the back is just tedious.
Bowie needs a goal.
You think?
Bowie needs a goal.
Yep. And he seems to be dropping deeper and deeper with each passing game as well. He needs to find himself sort of.
He's needing service.
Aye.
He gets next to nothing service. It's balls down channels that he's chasing into corners to hold men off and etc. etc. This is the sort of thing that Kurevich was getting stung with at the start of last season for a long time. It's getting isolated up front and wrestling with 2 or 3 defenders to try and keep control of the ball.
And the referee's giving fuck all as well. Really, this is the thing. He has that wrestling match, and then the defender gets a free kick. Stephen, what were your thoughts on it?
Broadly similar to a lot of what's been said. I actually thought before the goal we started off relatively well, and then the goal comes almost out of nothing, and it gives them a shot in the arm. And for the next probably 10 minutes or so, Rangers have more or less control of the game. But thereafter, it was just a game of nothingness. I think both teams had maybe 2 shots on target the whole game. The stats were pretty much even all across the board. There wasn't really many big chances in the game, just nothing. But we were so wasteful in possession. Cadden's delivery, I don't think he had a decent delivery in the box, front post, back post, centre at all the whole night. And it's so frustrating, as John correctly said. We could have scored 7 or 8 up at Pittodrie on Sunday quite easily. In fact, we probably should have scored at least 4 or 5. So to go from that level of performance and creating that many chances to last night, it's a big head scratcher. I think the TV said, and Ian's right as well, it came across on the TV that the ground was really, really flat. It really, really was. They did the whole disco show before it, and I thought if that doesn't get the fans up, what will? But you could hear 1,500 Rangers fans throughout, and you could hear it on the TV as well, all the singing, the sectarian stuff, not one apology from Sky whatsoever. So it just disappoints me that although we had half of the Dunbar end, we didn't fill it, and if we continue to not fill it, you know what's going to happen. There's going to be a decision made to give them the full stand again, which no one wants at all. But it was just so flat. And the TV said as well, we were, I think, 1 calendar day off going a full year unbeaten at home in the league, albeit across 2 seasons. It was 16 games all in unbeaten at home in the league. So to lose it with such a limp performance, it's really, really disappointing, to be honest. Really disappointing.
I think that is the bit that I think that frustrated, certainly around us, the thing that frustrated everybody was just how passive we were, like for the almost for the get-go. And I listened to Gray's interview and he was talking about, like, he thought we started well and he wanted us to be like in their faces, but I never felt like really until Mulligan went to right back and he squared up to the boy. That was the first time we really looked like, we were wanting to make them aware that they're in a game. What do you think of the early substitutions, Stephen? Do you mind it when a manager does that?
Well, hindsight's a wonderful thing. They had two players in bookings that committed challenges that you could argue were very easily worthy of another booking and didn't get sent off. So maybe we should have kept Cadden on, but I think it's been kind of bugging for a while that Cadden's been making mistakes, not being as effective in the final third as he probably should be. How he bounces back from that, I'm not entirely sure. It was me. Remember the talk against Partizan at the game at Easter Road, where everybody was talking about if Jordan Smith was pulled off at half time, what would that do to him? Would it kill him?
Aye.
I just worry a wee bit with Cadden that might be the case as well. I don't think he's the worst player. I think it's been said in this chat before that he's just not progressed at the same level the team has progressed over the last maybe 18 months or so. I do kind of worry for him. Is it maybe an opportunity in Livingston on Saturday to get him out the final line, maybe give Megwa a shot, possibly? But yeah, you have to feel for him. But the fact that that Magoma, I seen it at the time. Like, he's swung an arm back, he's caught him.
Aye.
That's a booking, whether or not it's intentional or not. But Beaton just waves it away, and the linesman's looking right at it as well. That's the thing that I just don't quite understand. I know VAR can only get involved if it's a possible straight red, which obviously it clearly wasn't. But
Yeah.
for that to not, and the fact that the Rangers pulled them off about 3 minutes later at half time. So what does that tell you about their coaching team? They've identified that one more challenge and he's off. But Zinedine Barron bringing Hoylett down for the penalty as well. How can you give away a penalty with such a clumsy challenge and not get booked for it? If that's at Ibrox and it's a Hibs player, you can absolutely guarantee if it's not a straight red and an assault charge for Police Scotland, it's definitely a second yellow and a red card. So. But Beaton's obviously got previous. He doesn't like us. We know that. I'm surprised they give the penalty at all, to be quite honest. But I suppose when it's that obvious, he kind of has to. But it takes nothing away from the fact that the TV said as well last night, they've failed to keep a clean sheet in 25 straight away games. So that's what, if you look at 18 league games across the season, 2 or 3 cup games, they've basically went a full season without keeping a clean sheet away from home. And we failed to score against probably the most most average team I've seen from Rangers since the Championship days.
I wasn't impressed with Rangers at all last night. On Beaton, I thought it was interesting the incident I talked about with Mulligan squaring up to the Rangers boy. Obviously, it was Mulligan that got the row with both of them. He gave Mulligan a talking to, and he gave it the point to the forehead to the Rangers boy. Can't think about it. And then later on, when Salinger got fouled trying to kick the ball out, he gave him a row for it.
Yeah, I was just going to make that point. He just screams at Salinger for being fouled. What?
It's mental that their first instinct is to shout at the Hibs player and let the Rangers boy away with it.
And that's why we lost the game, obviously, because of the referee.
Stephen, I'll stick with you. You mentioned Cadden there. So Jack has said was absolutely miserable last night, poor for the first 20 minutes. In my opinion, Chris Cadden last night, that should be his last Hibernian appearance. And Ramey said, hi guys, Hibs huffed and puffed, beaten, spoiled the game, dishing out cards in a no very dirty game. Someone should have done the homework regarding McGrath's telegrammed penalty. Hibs played scared. You mentioned about taking Cadden out of the firing line. We've obviously got Meg. What about Zach Mitchell? That was mentioned earlier on as well. Mitchell, an option to come in, do you think?
You'd have to think he was on the bench for a reason last night. I'm pretty sure it was Chiver that came on for Cadden, wasn't it? So he obviously tweaked the shape slightly, moved Mulligan out to the right. I'm with Chris. I don't. If there's a viable option to come into the middle, and you still get that quality from Mulligan out right, I wouldn't be that against that, to be honest. I would probably prefer Mulligan in the middle. I remember the European home games, how good he was in the middle, but if it gets Chai into the team, because he's too good a player to be sitting on the bench, absolutely. But if he's on the bench, you'd like to think, and he's up from Charlton, isn't he? So they're a championship team in England, so he must have something about him. But we're only going to see if he's got anything about him if Megwa gets a chance, doesn't cut the mustard, and we're kind of forced to go to potentially the third option. But I think maybe just for Cadden's sake, I don't think he should maybe play on Saturday.
Aye. Right, we've got so much to get through, so still to come, we'll get the Twitter talking points, and we've still got loads of comments coming through on YouTube. So, Joe, I'm going to come back to you. Donna said, Hunt's got the early goal, then they parked the bus, 11 men behind the ball, we couldn't break through them. When Clegy went off, we didn't have a decent shot on target until Campbell came on with 3 minutes to go. Joe, what do you think was behind that sort of lack of attacking potency, for want of a better word, for Hibs?
I think no creation in midfield whatsoever. That's why I was beating the drum for Mulligan to stick him in the middle of the park at all costs, even if it means, bringing the young laddie in at right wing half. It's not the game, Igwa. Bowie's obviously desperate for a goal. I mean, that might lift him. I mean, in the last 2 or 3 games, Gray has changed the formation ever so slightly, so that, Kieran Bowie's not quite playing the same role that he's been playing for most of the season. He just needs a goal to lift his confidence, in my view. But it's difficult to suggest what to do. I want to fact check something, though. When was the last time Hibs beat Rangers at Easter Road in the league?
In the Championship. So we had a few good wins against 3-2s and 4-0s and things like that. But top flight, you're going back a while.
2006 September.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, Ian, I'll give you this next one. This is from UK Plays. It said, both Caddens were murdered. Mulligan at right back weakens the side. Such a strong squad, not getting the most out of it. Bowie running about like a chicken without a head. And Dode said some of the comments on social media after the game were absolutely mental. So the Caddens had an off night, Ian, but they were both good against Livingston, both good against Aberdeen. So do you think they warranted their starting places?
It's all about coaching. It's the coach that decides who plays. So we had Nicky Cadden playing instead of having Jordan Beta playing. That's somebody's choice. In quite a few matches now, we've seen Chris Cadden taken off, and obviously Mulligan moved back to right wing back, which wastes him basically, as Joe said. So these are all coaching decisions. So let's not blame the players. It's like, everybody knows what Chris Cadden's capable of and not capable of. And Mulligan was taken to the cleaners at Ibrox 4 or 5 times. He was beaten when he was playing right wing back. So these are all coaching decisions. The problem I have is that we can't score a goal. So that's my problem. That's the thing that I see as the problem. And I wonder, as I said, who is actually coaching who's coaching the strikers. There's very little creativity. Obviously, last night, as I said earlier, Barlaser was basically missing after playing very well at Aberdeen, like very well. And I think that's because Rangers didn't allow him to play, because they had 2 people cutting off the ball to Barlaser all the time last night. It's all coaching. I mean, our coaching of the strikers is not good enough. They're not running off the ball enough. They're not making the sort of runs that people like Mick Patalainen would do, or John Robertson of the Hearts would do. And really good strikers, including, as we said at the start of the season, if only we'd gone for Simon Murray then, he would at least have been a help. But we're struggling just now because we've now got strikers who are dangerous, and the opposition know that we create very few chances. So they've just got to look at the stats, and I've no doubt that the new head coach for Rangers came in, watched a few videos in Hibs, and decided how he was going to play against us last night, and it worked. So it's all about the coaching. We just have to watch David Gray learning and his coaching team, and we have to continue to support him. We took a risk on David, obviously, as an experienced coach, as we did with Sean Maloney and Frank Sosie, but Rangers have done the same. There's no more roles, no more experience than David Gray, and he's just as young. So the coaches have got to get it right. The coaches have got to do the selection. Coaches have got to do the tactics. The coaches have got to do the individual player development. and I don't see much player development going on with our strikers just now. I'll be very surprised if Kieran Bowie holds his Scotland squad place.
Okay, Chris, I'll give you this. This next one's from for Rob. Actually, just spotted we've got a Hearts fan U2O who's commented on YouTube as well, saying this time of year with Remembrance Sunday coming up, we'd just like to apologise to the world for not paying for our poppies. That's good of you to admit it, Hearts fan. U2O, the charity thieves. Well done, well said. But Rob Morris said, evening bangers, think Ellie is the wrong man to bring on to chase a game. Are Hibs trying to showcase him before Christmas with the window coming up and hope that somebody will come in for him? Chris, you think that's the plan? Is Ellie getting a run out now? More about trying to get a sale fee for him?
No, I don't see it. Like, what are we going to get? 100 grand max? He's in the last 6 months his deal. We're not going to get much out of that deal. So I don't see the value in playing him if we're just trying to punt him in January. He's obviously doing something in training, which is saying, I'm back, I'm focused, I want to be in about the team. Because whether you believe he's fit, injured, attitudes, whatever it is, he's obviously doing something now which is justifying his selection within the squad. I don't think Ellie was a problem last night. If I'm being honest, I think the problem, and I mentioned it obviously in the Patreon chat, I think when we made the triple change last night, what we did lose was a focal point. We lost a bit of physicality up front. Bringing Hoylett, Boyle and Ellie on, you're literally going with three small men, and I'm just like, we probably would have been better bringing Campbell in at that point and putting Campbell, if we're going to take Bowie off, put Campbell into that number 9 position and just try and get him to rough people up, bounce balls off him, do what Josh Campbell does, because he's generally good at winning headers, getting in people's faces and doing that sort of job. We could have played the runners about him. Whereas this felt when we made that triple change last night, the three of them, probably three small men, was an issue, and it took a bit away for us. Whereas, if we had actually maybe brought in Josh Campbell and had Ellie and Boyle out sort of wider and used their pace in the wider positions, we might actually gain something out of it, as opposed to what we did do. But I don't think us bringing Ellie on to say we're just going to sell him in January or criticise him, because that is basically what we're doing there, is we're criticising Ellie. It's just nonsense. And it seems to be ever since Ellie's came to the club, it doesn't matter what he does, good, bad or indifferent, he gets criticised. If you remember the first goal he scored that when we got beat at Celtic Park, his first goal for the club, he was absolutely slaughtered on social media because he dared post the goal on his Instagram story. And I'm like, that's the sort of levels we're dealing with, and that's just never went away. People seem to think that, like, he just doesn't care, he doesn't do this and that. And I don't, like, would any of us care if we went into our work every day and all we're seeing is getting absolutely berated by our colleagues or fans or whatever it is? You wouldn't want to be there. So I think as a party, as fans, we have to take a bit of responsibility of ourselves. Instead of absolutely caning the same, and let's be honest, it's probably the same 2 or 3 players every week. They get the shite. We need to actually start backing them, get them confident, and we will go places. Because it was the same last night on a rant. I've seen people were blaming Rocky for his part in the first goal, and I just couldn't see it. I was like, he's went with his man. If he goes in and tries to take the ball, it's an easy ball inside him, and then their man's clean through and goal. He scores anyway. And it always just seems to be the same 2 or 3 players, like it was before. It was the Hanlon and Stevenson. If they were that good, they wouldn't be at Hibs for so long, sort of thing. It's a nonsense narrative that a certain percentage of fan base needs to get rid.
Joe, you got your hand up.
Can I totally endorse and agree with everything that's just been said? You know, who scored the winner against Aberdeen when all was said and done? Ellie.
I tell you what, you get more than 100 grand for him if that was the only video that you showed, like that. We've got RFC72, Rangers fan watching, said, just like to apologise on behalf of our whole support for being disgusting and come out with a sectarian bile. That's nice of you, RFC. 72. Thank you for that apology on behalf of your support. We appreciate that. John, I'm going to get some Twitter comments. There was some spiky ones in there last night. So Albert
You
Ali.
filtered those out and you're giving me all the sensible ones.
No. Albert Ali says, question is 14 points from 10 games acceptable? I, for one, would say no. And as a supporter for nearly 50 years, is it not about time we demanded better, just like fans from other clubs have this season? And Axel F said, another tactical masterclass from Gray. Subs made us worse.
Well, the problem is, like too many of us, he started watching Hibs just after the Tornadoes had peaked. I mean, so if he's coming into Hibs at 75, the problem is that he clearly has forgotten about the first 15 years of watching Hibs. Now, I mean, the scar of the 79 Cup has probably disappeared. Lifted a little bit in 91, but probably by the end of it, he would have driven Miller out the club. You then go through a couple of relegations, peaks with Soze, and actually the last 5 to 10 years has been as good as it's been in that period.
Mm-hmm.
So all 50 years of watching the club, because I'm similar, we're on, was it 14 points for 10 games? Isn't it? Yeah. Or it's 6 points from the last three. I mean, we're on course probably for somewhere between 55 and 65 points, depending on how we do, which is pretty much what we did last year.
Yeah.
And it's the challenge is that we've got to get beyond that. And the 14 points as a start to the season is disappointing. I think that we've discussed it before. We've left points at the table at Falkirk. We've left them against Kilmarnock. You could argue we brought points back against United, but I thought that was always a game where there was goals in it for both teams. And the penalty we didn't get against St Mirren. So 6 points there that we've left on the table. That could be the difference between challenging for third or challenging for fourth or fifth at the end of the season. So is 14 out of 10 disappointing? Yes. But is it a disaster? No.
Yeah. Stephen, you're okay to take a question? Just no one to disturb anyone. Right, Mark McWilliams said the most insipid performance I've seen against the worst Huns team in many a year. Alec Miller levels the defence first. Gray is not learning in these games. Dreadful stuff. Is this, as Ian mentioned about we're watching David Gray learning? Is this a concern that we're still seeing performances like that?
I think every team can throw in a bit of a clang every now and then, and I think last night might have been ours. It's try to look at the rosier side of it. That Rangers team's created absolutely nothing against us. The goals are an individual piece of brilliance, to be quite honest. So if I'm putting on my positive specs, it's the fact that we've restricted Rangers to probably the lowest possession I've had at Easter Road for many a year. There's certainly the lowest number of chances. You think that game in May, the 2-2, Rangers, if I'm honest, probably were the better team that day and created more chances. So putting the positive specs on, we restricted them to very, very little. But I was messaging a friend from work this morning he's actually quite a balanced Rangers fan, to be quite honest. And he said that Rangers probably didn't deserve the 3 points last night. We both think a draw was probably the better result. But he had said that unusually for Rangers, they actually looked organised and well drilled. And I'd messaged them back to say that Rangers seemed to be quite content to sit in 1-0, which growing up in the early and mid 2000s, Chris will be the same. Rangers would come to Easter Road, score the first goal, and you knew you were running uphill the full game because they were probably good enough to hold on defensively. The worry for me last night is that Hibs must have known about the defensive worries that they've had over the last year or so, and we did absolutely nothing really to stem the flow. And I would agree with I think it was one of the comments about the subs, put into one of the chats. The triple change, I think, absolutely killed us moving forward. I don't think we created anything after the triple sub. As much as Bowie needs a goal, Bowie is that guy that will hold up the ball, and he did it a number of times last night where he held up the ball, he won free kicks. But as soon as he went off, the ball was getting out of the channels, with Cleachy going off as well. There was just nothing. There was absolutely nothing from an attacking third. So I think it's fair to say it's probably the probably the worst performance, I think, in the league all season.
Agreed. Joe, I've got two. Well, if I'll give you the first one, and I'll get the second one to Ian. So David said, reality check: 18 played, 5 wins, 3 of them against the bottom 2, 4 games played against the top 3, 3 defeats. Squad's better than that. So does the finger point at the coaches?
It has to. And I'm surprised that on this podcast nobody's mentioned that, Ian mentioned the assistant coaches here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Fingers are going to start pointing at David Gray fairly soon if they haven't already. Because ultimately, the buck stops with him.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think about David Gray and the job he's doing, Joe?
I think he's doing an okay job. As Ian said, he's a young manager learning, and we kind of keep chopping and changing managers. And if we had that 17-game unbeaten run under David Gray, he's earned some credit in the bank to at least have the season again. And I think Hibs are going to get better, not worse. But we desperately need another big striker apart from Kieran Bowie, because he's having to do it all on his own. I think it would be good if Hibs rested him at the weekend. It'd be good for him, and I totally agree with what Ian said. I hope he's not picked for the Scotland squad, and he gets time to just chill out at Easter Road for a bit, because he's a young laddie when all's said and done. He's 22 only still, So I really do think it's not all doom and gloom. If we can beat last season's points total, we've still not had nearly as bad a start as we did last season. Then it's progress if we get more points than last season, and that would probably get us third, I think.
I would think so. So we've got loads of folk watching at the moment. If you wouldn't mind hitting like for us on the YouTube, that helps us out. And also I meant to say, Chris, you mentioned the chat on the Patreon. So anybody who's on our Patreon, if you go there and you sign up, you've got access to a couple of different chat rooms in there as well, all about the Hibs as well. So if you want to kind of get stuff off your chest in between games, you can do it there and talk Hibs with other listeners. Ian, this one comes from James Fairney, who's no relation, as far as I know. It's a 3-5-2 low block, long ball to nowhere, absolutely garbage, same every week, needs to change soon. Gray will be gone by January or the end of the season. He's found his limits. What do you think?
No, definitely not. We have to, we've taken a risk with David, and it's worked. It works, it's far better. We're performing far better than we did, and there's far more optimism than with the previous 2 head coaches. David is doing really well. The problem is, I didn't pick up his name there, but the 3-5-2, it's not so much 3-5-2 that's the problem. It's the lack of change of that. It's a lack of change of tactics. The head coach is definitely responsible for it, and I'm sure David Gray would say exactly the same, that it was his responsibility. I think if the problem is, as I think it is striker and the lack of creation of chances and the lack of taking of chances, then we just need to coach the strikers better. We usually have, I don't know, just gut feel. We usually have about 5 people that are capable of scoring goals. And for a while it looked like it was only Martin Boyle. So we need to get back to the point where we've actually got midfielders scoring, etc. Josh Mulligan's not going to score any goals from right wing back, I don't think. But certainly Cleege looks like a finisher, and even Chaiwa last night. So obviously, I think the one that Cleege missed on the line, I think that would have been offside anyway. But I think it's promising. But the coaches are absolutely responsible for this. So if we can't break them down, if we can't break a team down, that's not the players' responsibility. It's the coach's responsibility. So the coaches have got to adopt a system of play to play against different teams, and they've got to make a selection to play against different teams. And that's what David Gray said he would do at the start of the season. He has to stick to it. We have to stick with David Gray. It'd be clearly nuts for us to change, especially in January. My concern is that there were 1,500 of us at Aberdeen. But at this point in the season, we've failed to progress in Europe. Right? We're out of the League Cup, and we don't look capable of challenging at the top of the league. Right? Now, at this point last season, we were at our lowest and we were improving, and the team spirit was actually becoming evident. And now I think it's the reverse. That's the problem. We're actually playing worse. The team spirit is, you saw a couple of people arguing last night and blaming each other. And that's always worrying. I only hope that Joe Newell is going to come back soon, because when we saw Boyle coming on and getting the armband, and it was never clear who was actually trying to lead. But we need sorry, I know you joke about it on extra time, but we need leaders. But it's definitely David Gray's responsibility. It's definitely everything that goes wrong is definitely David Gray's fault. So he would be the first to say that. But we've got to stick with him. We're not miles off. But I don't think we're going to challenge. I think we'll struggle to make top three this year.
Well, I've got I'll give you this one as well because we're talking about Gray. Kieran said Gray's becoming reactive. Last season he was proactive. Last year he went for games from the start. This year he's been passive and trying not to get beat too often. Does that resonate with you? Is that what you're seeing?
I disagree with that. I think David Gray definitely tried to win the game last night. He said it beforehand, but I think he definitely tried to win the game. The problem is he tried to win the game in the same way he tries to win all the games by adopting exactly the same tactics and try and play on the break. And as I said earlier, Rangers played a sort of own game. They gave us the ball. So Rangers defended deeply and they gave us the ball and they knew that we would create very few chances because that's what's happened to us recently. So I think we definitely set out to win the game last night. And we just, Rangers beat us tactically and beat us in terms of, as John said, sorry, I don't know if it was John that said or Chris said, they have got better players, better quality players. And but they not for the first time this season, David Gray was outcoached by somebody who's less experienced than him.
Okay, right. Chris, I'm going to come to you in a second. We've got Northamptonshire Hearts have left. They left a talking point for us. They just said we would like to apologise for Graham Ricks. So that was nice. Thanks, Northamptonshire Hearts, for getting in touch. About time somebody apologised for him. Chris, we are Hibs 3553 says first home league defeat in a year. In fourth currently and haven't got as many points as our performances justify. It'll even out. He's a good manager and we're a good squad. Thoughts?
I think that's pretty accurate, if I'm being honest. Like, people are going mental. We've lost one game since, I think it was the 9th of November last year at home.
Yep.
Like with St Mirren, right? And even we could have took something at that game as much as it was such a ridiculously poor performance. Since then, performances at home have been relatively good. Squad, I agree. The only thing I think with the squad is we're probably paying for not signing another right wing back, as we all know, and a physical centre forward in the summer, or somebody in the free transfer list to take the pressure off Bowie and gives that other option. With the right wing back situation, it's clear that Meg wasn't trusted. Because if he was trusted, he'd be coming in, he'd be getting put on at some point in games to play. And he's, other than when was the last time he played? Maybe it was at Ibrox he came on.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the last time? I think that was pretty much the last time he was seeing minutes.
Yeah, I think so. Try to remember a time since then, but I think you're right, Chris.
Yeah. So I think he's obviously not trusted to hold that position. Hence why Mulligan goes there and etc. And so I think we're paying for a wee bit of holes in our summer recruitment. And that's not to say we didn't try to get the physical striker in Dykes.
Yeah.
We obviously failed. But there were other options. There were bound to be other options there. And there is always options in the free transfer list, like we done with Dwight Gale last year.
Are you surprised that we never went into the free transfer market?
Yeah, considering if you take the sample of Kieran Bowie at Hibs, he spent the best part of a season injured.
Mm-hmm.
We've placed an awful lot of eggs in his basket, and we are having this faith that he wasn't going to break down again. That's where I'm going, we probably should have done, because he's played a lot of minutes, Bowie. Like a lot of minutes. And even at the start of the season, he was the one that was running, played 90 minutes, Thursday, Saturday, running channels, battling with these big European defenders, coming in on the Sunday and doing it again. And like, we will burn the boy out, and he probably is feeling a bit of fatigue and burnout at the minute. And we need to have that other option. At the moment, we don't have it. So we should have looked at
it. John, you got your hand up, and Joe, I saw you put your hand up there as well. So I'll get John and then I'll come to you, Joe.
I think the Kanaya Megwa point is spot on. But I think the problem that Gray has is that when he's looking at his match day squad, it's either Chris Cadden or it's Megwa, because Megwa rarely makes the bench because it's normally full. He's made it at the weekend because of the appendicitis. I mean, so that's the challenge I think Gray's got, is that Chris Cadden gets dropped completely out the squad and out the bench. I would do that if I'm honest. I mean, I think we've seen enough from Megwa to say that there's a player there to develop.
Yeah.
We've played a 16-year-old not that many years ago in this league, and yeah, he got caught out occasionally, but actually on the whole did not too bad in terms of Rory Whittaker.
Yeah.
Megwa's older, wiser than he is. And there is a point, that's probably the one blot that would be on sort of the copybook, is that Cadden is the one that's struggling. Don't want to bury him, but every player goes through form or sort of a dip, and there's an option there that he's not taken.
I thought maybe the Caddens got the wrong boots, like each other's boots on last night, because Nicky was crossing like Chris, and Chris was defending like Nicky. So I thought that was maybe the easiest. Like, I think his twins, did they have the same size feet? Like, I think how that works. So maybe that was
maybe Nicky's changed his beard oil, and it's taken it away.
That's what's done it. Joe, you had your hand up as well.
What's even more disappointing to me yesterday than the performance is the news that Dylan Levitt is out probably until about Christmas time.
Oh, I missed that. What was the news there?
Is he not having to have a pen? Did he have an appendix?
Is that what you mentioned there, John? Yeah, I missed that news.
Yeah, I mean, so that's a big loss to us, because what did we lack last night more than anything was creativity. And Dylan Levitt can give you that in spades. And, he's had an appendix operation. Now, if it's keyhole, as it mostly is nowadays, unless it was a serious one, he should be back in a month in terms of being fit, but it'd be 6 weeks before he's playable fit. So you're getting on towards Christmas then, given the fact that it just comes out into November now. So that was the most disappointing news for me yesterday.
It's probably longer than that. The way that Hibs go is like they tell you how long somebody's going to be out, and you need to add about 6 weeks to it. Like that seems to be the way that our injuries go. John, let me come back to you on a positive. Robbie Dinan said, I was really impressed with Chaiwa. It felt like he was doing the work of about 3 people in midfield. So I thought he was a standout when he came on. What did you make of his performance?
It was an absolute breath of fresh air. I think he came on as the team changed and got better. He came on as we stopped Rangers picking up balls in those spaces either side of Barlasa. But just that aggression, but it's the aggression and the skill. I mean, it's only in recent weeks I properly appreciated how big he is. Because when you're at away grounds, your views are tend not to be that great, but no. So he's got the bulk and he uses it particularly well. High point that everybody will see is the battle that he goes through to get the ball in the byline and gets the crossover. But no, he was making tackles, taking the ball forward, doing what we see Mulligan doing, and probably now creates the problem. To move it slightly, I think that if we look at last season's team, I think Barlasa will probably start to become a feature in Boyle's team, because he will play the big guy in front of the back three, because he did that with Triantis last year. I mean, and you're then saying I would have Chaiwa as my right mid ahead of Mulligan, but we need to get Mulligan on the pitch. So it's going to be a question as to how they choose to play that, because that sort of Mulligan and McGrath give us enough going forward against the majority of this league for us to pick up points. It's whether Chaiwa can knock out Barlasa will be the question. But no, he could do both roles, and I think that he has to be a starter. And his injury after the European stuff is probably one of the reasons why there was a little bit of a dip in terms of we lost that energy in midfield.
I thought he was excellent. I agree with pretty much everything that you said there, John. Stephen, or if you're able to, okay, this is for Nige. He says, we didn't show up. Simple as that. We were second to everything last night. Did we do enough to deserve a point if the pen had gone in? I'm not so sure. Worst Rangers team in years, and we literally stood off them for 90 minutes. Poor. If we'd got a point, would we have been worth it?
probably best to pass it on to one of my Limerick colleagues.
Well, then I'll give it to Joe.
I've not got any bairns.
Joe.
I've not got any bairns with me, so I'll comment
on you go. On you go, Ian.
Right. I mean, you know, we certainly didn't deserve a point, but I agree it was one of the worst Rangers teams I've seen. But we did exactly the same against one of the worst Celtic teams I've seen. So it's our performance. It's our performance. We just, you know, we're just not creating enough chances and not taking them when we do create them. I noticed that I just had a look and I noticed that Mixu Patalainen is actually director of football at Spartans at the moment. So perhaps we could actually go and get a proper striker to come in and coach our strikers.
See on like that point, the point of last night, I think, and I don't want to get bogged down in stats and things like that, but if you actually look at the stats, we had more forward passes than Rangers. We had more touches in their box. They had more clearances in our players. Like, so are we reading too much into it? Like, was the performance like? Guaranteed, we didn't have so many clear-cut chances, but actually, in terms of the game and the balance of play, we were actually more attacking than they were, and we had more of the ball in their box. We just didn't convert it. We didn't convert the possession that we had in advanced areas. So I don't think the performance was as bad as people are making it out to be. When you look at the stats, the only stat I haven't looked at is the XG.
Well, we were well ahead on the XG, but we've got a penalty which is I think 0.7, and then I think Cleage's chance on the goal line was maybe like 0.9 as well. So that accounts for a lot of it, because we didn't trouble their keeper often enough, I don't think. But if you're looking just on XG, we should have won the game. Never mind drawing it. John, you got your hand up.
I think last night was a miserable game where neither side did enough to deserve to win. I mean, we're quite happy to look at sort of the Hibs side, and quite rightly, but Rangers didn't do enough to get their 3 points. They got them, but if you're looking at it and saying, "Oh, who deserved what?" No team deserved to win that game last night. Same at Tynecastle, and that's the harshness of football.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We have slipped up at Tynecastle in terms of letting a cross in and then letting somebody drift at the back post, and we've missed a chance 15 minutes before that. Last night, we've allowed a shot for the edge of the area. There's just been that peach for training that would normally go high over the bar, and we've missed the penalty. It hurts because of the two teams that are involved, but that they were both really miserable games that neither team really deserved to get a victory out of, and it should have been 2 draws. I mean, we have to cut that out. We have to go back to last season, and they become draws. But we're overstating it for Rangers if we say that we deserve nothing out of the game, because they equally didn't deserve the win.
Can I say I totally agree with that, because had we got the draw, all the chat tonight would have taken largely a different level if we got a draw last night.
It is a different conversation, isn't it? Okay, right. We're out of time, so just to wrap up, we've got Livingston at the weekend. Again, feels like we just played them. In fact, we have just played them. It's been 2 comfortable games so far. Stephen, you can use your fingers if you can to signal the score. What's the score prediction for you?
I'm going to go for a very, very, very scrappy 1-0 Hibs, and I would take it, to be quite honest.
Nice, all right. So 1-0 Hibs. Joe, what's the score going to be?
3-0 Hibs.
Right, and Chris?
They've got a lot of injuries, Livingston, so knowing Hibs, it'll probably be a scrappy 2-1 or something.
2-1 Livy, right. 2-1 Hibs, right, for you, Ian?
Scrappy 3-1, but I think Meg will play.
Good, right. And John?
Always they didn't get Boyle on penalties, because he's got a tendency to kick them over the stand. 2-0 Hibs.
That was one of the worst penalties I've ever seen. That was Jack Ross's last game, wasn't it?
But Jack lost the sack.
Aye, awful. Right, on that note then, thanks very much for everybody who's tuned in tonight. Been loads of folk watching as we've been doing this. Loads of comments and loads of folks sent talking points on Twitter. Thanks so much for that. And of course, to you guys who came on and joined us on the phone in, hugely appreciated. If you want to join in with one of the phone ins, we post the details up on Patreon and to our YouTube members on a Thursday morning or early afternoon. So you can join in. You just have to dial in. You don't have to ask us first. You just get the details and come in. John, you got your hand up?
I was going to say, if anybody's feeling really, really down, they need to get episode 6 of The Banger and just read Andrew Sibley's first 3 stories.
Aye, good
And
shout.
that one, they will be one, if there's not a tear going down their cheeks by the end of it, I question who they are. And if you're reading it on a bus as a bloke, you can cry as well. But that read those three and understand what it's like to follow the Hibs.
When you started talking about things to cheer up and then started talking about early episodes of things, I thought you were going for the South Korean Sex Dolls episode of Long Bangers that we did, which is one of the best episodes we've ever done. Right, Ian was showing off the t-shirt as well. Redbubble.com, search Long Bangers. There's loads of designs on there. The Hibs away, I like it, is one of them. In the meantime, thanks very much, and we'll catch you next time.